Good evening. It's 6 p.m. I'll declare the Ordinary Council meeting for the 24th of the 3rd, 2026 open. I'll start with the prayer and acknowledgement of traditional owners. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the peace and beauty of this area. Direct and prosper the deliberations of this council for the advancement of the city and the welfare of its people. Amen. We'd like to acknowledge the Noongar people who are the traditional custodians of the land, and we'd like to pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, including those in the room this evening. Mr. CEO, record of apologies and leave of absence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. We have everyone in attendance this evening. No apologies. We have 9 elected members and staff as recorded on the screen. Thank you.
No, okay, thank you. Disclosures of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There has been no disclosures for this evening's meeting. However, I will just give everyone an opportunity to consider that now. Is there any disclosures? No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We're about to do an award. Would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It gives me great honour to introduce to you this evening James Sheridan. James is the CEO of LGIS, and the reason for James being here tonight is he will present to the City of Albany a silver award, which is considered for award in diligence in safety that has resulted in an audit that was undertaken. And Mr. Mayor, if you're happy, I'll ask James to come forward and just explain a little bit about the award and then make that presentation to you and the elected members in the City of Albany.
Sure. James, I'll invite you to the microphone.
If you'd like to come forward up to here, James, if you can. Thank you. Just use this microphone here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor and elected members. And just in terms of just a bit of context for this award, LGIS is the WA local government owned mutual that protects your people, assets and liabilities to allow you to deliver what you need to do for your communities. The mutual itself funds a whole range of risk initiatives to minimise claims across the entire WA local government sector, and this 3 Steps to Safety program is one of those initiatives. It's about achieving long-term safety performance and ultimately about getting your people home safely at the end of each work day. Is a 3-tier criteria in terms of the assessments, and it's based on a local government size, resources and maturity, with Tier 3 being awarded today as at the highest level of the criteria we make these assessments. The audit was undertaken late last year, and we're really pleased and to celebrate and recognise the achievement of a score over 75%, which is the Silver Diligence in Safety Award. So congratulations to the City, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to present
Yes.
the certificate? Maybe we'll get a photo with you and the Mayor itself.
Would you like to actually hold it?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's your award.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, James, and I have to say congratulations, Mr. CEO and the staff and the executive management team, because that doesn't happen without thorough organisation and care and diligence, so well done. Reports of members. Let's go this way. Councillor Stevens.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. Very briefly, I'd like to reach out to Paul's team and Jan, and you guys in the building and planning cop a fair bit of flack, but I've got to say I've had 6, 7 or 8 queries in the last fortnight, and you've got back to me, and your response has been fantastic. That the people didn't get the answers they were looking for, but they got the answers, and I'd just like to commend you on the efficiency, because it's easy to criticise and it's a bit harder to say well done. Now, just one quick question. Is this reports of members locked in? Is it compulsory? Because my years in council, I reckon this 20 minutes to an hour is the least productive of the night. And I'd like to have the discussion to see what other members think about getting rid of it altogether. Thank you.
Well, we won't be doing that tonight. What I can say is, if my memory serves me correctly, that when the reform comes through, public question time will be limited to 2 minutes, and you must have a question, and that reports of members will be limited to 2 minutes. There are some councils that I think don't have reports of members, but probably smaller councils. So I think the standing orders, when they're coming from the top down in the reform package, will say that there has to be a report of members. Thank you. Councillor Bruff.
Thanks, Matt. You got me for 4 minutes tonight. So, there's a growing social movement in Australia. It has extensive membership. It requires no dues and holds no meetings. And its singular purpose is to make our country a loser. It's called the Vetocracy. Now, the Vetocracy is a quiet coalition of everyone who finds it easier to say no than yes. Objectors, regulators, committees, tribunals, consultants, nobody in particular, everybody in general. Its genius is that no single member is responsible for the outcome. Everyone's just following the process. And the process, unfailingly, produces the same result. Nothing gets built, no one's to blame. I raise this because we have a case study right here in Albany. There's a bloke at Nullakai who digs lime out of the ground. Farmers need lime, it corrects soil acidity.
Councillor Bruff, I am going to give you a fair warning here that we have a hearing and a reserved decision. Be very careful where you go with this.
Thank you very much for that warning. Now, the nearest reliable alternative is Redgate. 700-kilometre round trip, diesel, $3 a litre. The lime digger wants to dig more lime to help farmers, to help make more food and stop lots of diesel being burned and not to waste people's time and to generate wealth. Not a new mine, not an expansion, an amendment. And Mayor, I'll just say, nothing breaches any of the legal stuff. I've been very careful in my remarks. Now, what followed is best understood as a collaboration between everyone and no one. The trucks are too noisy. The noise experts agree. The trucks comply with West Australian noise regulations. The worst case exceedance is 45 seconds, less than 5% of the time. This is unacceptable. The noise complies with the law. It's still unacceptable. We've agreed it's an amenity issue. The trucks are too dangerous. There's no crash history on the route. The risk assessment rates it as low. The trucks are speed limited to 40 kilometres an hour. It's still dangerous. We agree this is a perception issue. The dust is a concern. The dust was observed on site to be minimal. Dust controls a condition of approval. The dust remains a concern. We've agreed it's a combined impact issue in combination with the noise that complies and the traffic that hasn't crashed. The operation will disturb the Australasian bittern. The bittern is a bird. The bird is disturbed by noise above 56 decibels. The actual noise of the wetland is in the high 30s. The bird calls at night, the quarry operates during the day. The bird's call is 80 decibels. The truck noise is lower. The bird remains a central issue, and we've agreed it's a precautionary matter. A report didn't consider demand for lime, transport emissions or economic impact, or the 700-kilometre alternative. And these matters were not relevant to the report because the report was about planning, and transport, economic impact and food security are nothing to do with planning. The Council voted 8-3 to refuse the amendment. The refusal triggered a State Administrative Tribunal appeal. The City told Council the hearing would cost $160,000. The ratepayers are excited to learn.
Point of order, Mr Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Stephen.
The council is referring to certain issues relating to a certain matter, which is before SAT, and I think it's inappropriate and he should withdraw his comments.
He hasn't criticised the decision. He's allowed to make a comment about a decision we've made previously, but he can't make a comment about the validity of the decision. So be careful, as I said.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. Thanks, Mayor. Meanwhile, the lime is coming from Boronat. The trucks burn diesel for 700 kilometres instead of 40. Did I mention the current nation-destroying liquid fuel crisis? The emissions are higher, the cost is higher, the quality is lower, the ratepayers are poorer, the business is poorer, the food security is eroded, the victocracy is satisfied. No one's to blame. Not a single additional tonne of lime has been produced, but the process has been followed. And in the end, isn't that what the advancement of the city is all about?
Councillor McKinley. Councillor McLaren. Who, might I say, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Hope that's not in my 2 minutes.
No,
Thank you.
no, it's not.
Look, I just wanted to just briefly say, Councillor Stevens, I find the reports a good opportunity to communicate about the work that I've been doing for the council in between months, and I try and use it that way to inform people about what I've been doing. If members' reports are dispensed with, I have a very active Facebook page, and I'll continue to use that to communicate with people. So I know.
Were you referring to Councillor Sutton?
Councillor Sutton, yes, sorry. And Councillor Sutton. So I just wanted to start off by saying how fantastic 2026 is. I have been attending a lot of the events, and well done to your team, Nathan, and to everyone that's involved, including former Councillor Malcolm Trail, who is chairing that committee. And I've had so many people visit me during this period, and it has definitely been a boon for tourism. And today I went out on the Calgon Queen, and he has added extra trips because of the people coming to town. And I went also to, as part of the festival for Lighting the Sound, as many of you did, went down Sterling Terrace, and that activation down Sterling Terrace is fantastic. And the people that I spoke to that were in stalls were really excited by that opportunity and looking forward to the future. So I can say hats off to the City of Albany for making that happen. I learned a lot too. I already know a little bit about the Menang culture, but it was an opportunity for me to deepen my understanding of the Menang culture. I really enjoyed the first lights conjarling and the stories that were told by, I'm just going to list the Menang custodians, Avril and Lindsay Dean, Vernice Gillies, Larry Blight, Iris Woods, and Olivia Roberts, with Noongar artists Kim Scott and Cass Lynch. That was just so enriching, and I hope that we can see them in the future online. The Peace Park event, which included activation by Benita Ferrari, who is behind Activate Perth, which has been a really successful program in the capital city, and the botanical exhibit by Lara Rose has just been so enriching, I think, to the whole event, and something that wasn't anticipated. So I think it's great. Also, we've had Taste of Great Southern, and I hope some of you got out to sample some of those delights, across the region. I thought that was, a very well organized event, and I hope will grow into the future, that finally we got that festival down at Binaluk. I attended the workshop that the city co-sponsored with Act Belong Commit for mental health and youth about how we can build youth inclusive strategies this month, and that was very helpful for me to learn more. I know Councillor Stevens attended as well. There was a weed management forum that we held. It's number 3, and there will be some action to come out of that. And I know a lot of people have been interested in how we're coming forward in managing weeds better in our city, and that's with a group of integrated everyone who's working on weeds in Albany is basically involved in this group. And so it's really exciting for me to be moving forward with that project. It was so wonderful to welcome those citizens. And I know Councillor Clark was there too, to welcome new citizens to the city of Albany this month. I think there was about 30 there. So that was another great event this month. And then something dear to my heart, Albany has welcomed the Advance to Zero project, which is that homelessness project that we talked about in years past. And it's a fantastic project that I personally have been involved in. So to see it here in Albany and to see all the organizations working in it is just a great outcome for the organizations that are working to end homelessness. And I'll finish there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Councillor McLaren, I like to use my member member report to talk about what I've been up to during the course of the month, because I think it's really important that the community hears what we have done and our perspective on things and events that have happened around Albany over the month, rather than using it for other purposes. So a few events during the course of the month. One that hasn't been talked about is the Hospice Spinathon on the first weekend in March. They raised about $62,000. They've been doing the Spinathon now for, I can't remember, but at least 25, I think it's actually 29 years. So they have to raise about $800,000 each year to fund the service, which is a highly valued service for the community of Albany. I too enjoyed the first Lights Kinjarling, the 3 drone shows over the first weekend in March. The story about the Woolwich, the eagle, the wedge-tailed eagle, and the parrots, the green-bellied parrots, are they, Oscar? Was it green-bellied parrots? Yeah, whatever. And on the Saturday night, the story of the Porongarups, and then on the Sunday night, the story of Mamang Court and the Heart of the Whale. And what was really good to see, about 8,000 or 9,000 people down there every night, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. The applause after each of the shows was just really, really great to see. And it's great that the community is hearing those stories as well, because when I was growing up, I never heard any of those stories at all. With the Lighting the Sound, we also had regional capitals here, the Regional Capitals Alliance, so mayors and CEOs from a number of regional cities in WA came down to have their monthly or every second month meeting. And it was great to showcase to them a number of sites around Albany and showing what we're doing, and a number of them were really, really surprised by what we're doing, and grateful to have the tour and make those connections as well. And part of the reason for them coming to town was to see the Lighting of the Sound. Our premier event in the bicentenary year, I think it's been a fantastic event so far. Lots of really good press. There were a couple of comments initially, but I think once people have got to understand what the installation is all about, and it's not a light show, it's an installation. And one comment that I saw a lot of times is about some of the marketing that was done and how the lights are going to be lighting up the hill. When Kerry Kohler had the initial idea, that's what he was going to do. He was going to light up the hill, or the hills. But when he did it, it just didn't look any good. But what he did notice is the cloud. We all joke sometimes about the cloud, and especially people from Perth complain about it's always cloudy or raining or whatever in Albany. It took someone from outside Albany to see the beauty of the cloud and use it as his canvas to create this wonderful installation. I've seen it every night in different places, and I think it's really fantastic. So just congratulations to Kerry Kohler and the Form team for what they've done and what they've achieved for us here in Albany. It's a shame, I think Saturday night's going to not be too great, but if you haven't seen it yet, please get out there on Friday night to have a good look. My time's basically up, so I think I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps we should also acknowledge the Albany 2026 team and their efforts, and our Executive Director responsible for that, Nathan Watson. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Just very briefly, I just want to talk about, from a local emergency management perspective, that just thanks to Matthew Kilfellan and his team, and also to all of our other emergency service personnel and those representing government agencies that have come together during this fuel crisis that we have, and probably just reassuring the community that as a city we are watching what's going on, and we are putting things in place that if things do go forward in the negative, that we will be ahead of the game, I hope. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. It's an important update. Councillor Leonetti.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this Councillor Stevens and Councillor Clark weren't here at the time when this was brought up, but I'm speaking on behalf of the Colbung family here tonight. They had us go out to their farm to a meeting about the Menang and non-Menang families in our district. He is upset that we didn't follow up. He would have liked the family trees to be laid on the table as he feels that they are the only true Menang family of this area. The rest are actually Noongars. They're not, they're from surrounding areas, but they're not actually from this area. So he would like that either brought up and gone over, or we either change the Menang theme, because there's people talking as the Menangs, but it isn't a Menang if you haven't got the Menang true value owners, true owners representing the land that we stand on. So hopefully we can have that sorted. And the other thing is, I've been talking to a lot of people, and it come to my attention, you drive around town and there's these signs, Amazing Albany, right, where anything is possible. Well, how come everybody in our community can't do anything? That's all I've got to say.
I normally don't make a comment, but I am just going to acknowledge that a former councillor passed away a week ago, and just acknowledge Tony D'Amato's contribution to the city as a councillor, and extend our sympathies to his family and Heather. Okay. Response to previous public questions taken on notice. There was a question asked last week around the booking of Retrovision Stadium. The explanation was sent out to the person who asked that question, and it is recorded in the agenda, so it's there for those who need to see it. I'm not going to read it. Public question time. I'm just going to go through the rules, because there are some people here who wish to address council today who are new to the process, or don't do it very often. So essentially, there is a code of conduct that is involved. You're admitted to the meeting with the understanding that you'll do this and address council respectfully. You are to address me as the chair, not the audience. You are limited to 4 minutes. There's a traffic light system up here. When you come to the microphone, there is 4 minutes. The green light will be there for 3.5 minutes, at which point that light will go amber, and at 4 minutes that light will go red, and your presentation or your questions of council are complete. We give preference to those people who are wanting to speak to items on the agenda, because essentially we're here to do the business of the day. So we'll start with the people that there are only two. There are a number of people. You don't have to take 4 minutes. We have 30 minutes and at least 9 people who wish to speak. So if you don't need to take 4 minutes, don't feel obliged to take up the full 4 minutes. So for DIS 467, Peter Brown, each of the people who come to the microphone are asked to state your name, the item or the topic to which you are referring, and the suburb in which you live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Peter Brown, Bayonet Head. I'd just like to raise some issues regarding that item you just mentioned. I did send an email to Mr. Sharp today and councillors and requested that be withdrawn. I think the detail in that document is quite unprofessional. It's not enough detail for councils to make a professional decision about it. There's quite a few grammar errors in it, and it's just not up to standard. So I'd request that be withdrawn.
Well, that's up to the council, Peter. You can't ask for that to happen from the floor. If there's anyone from the council that wishes to do so, they can move it at the appropriate time when the item comes forward.
I was just, perhaps if the executive team would like to withdraw the document. No?
Beg your pardon?
I was asking whether the executive team want to withdraw the document.
It's on the agenda. It's up to the council now. It's on the council agenda. We're dealing with it for council business. It's not going to be withdrawn by the administration.
It was just my concerns about the capacity of that document.
Well, you're a former that was circulated. You know how this works. You used to work for the city.
Yes.
Yes, I was PM for the project of the Yanset Peace Park in 2010. It was a very proud project for the city. We did very well. We got it finished in time for the opening in 2010. There was a number of politicians there, and it was a good effort for the city. It did involve a lot of extensive drainage below as well, which made a difference to the environment there, as well as from the CBD drop-off runoff. I did go down there. I have done a lot of projects like this in my career, and had a look at the jetty myself. It was a bit chilly, but I had a good look around. There's not enough detail in the report. That's what I'm arguing, for councillors to make a decision about this, because there's no breakdown of the structure report. There's no proper costing yet. And you're talking about demolishing something that was a very integral part of the Peace Park. So I guess my questions, as I said, I've had a look at it. The vertical alignment of the piers is fine. Obviously the superstructure is fine. The damage is where the U-beams across the walkway has deteriorated because of lack of preventative maintenance. And the rest of the, as I said, the rest of the superstructure is fine. So just a question, Mr. Mayor, a rhetorical one as well. Why consult with the community, get a 95% result back saying they want to keep it, and you put a recommendation to demolish it?
We consulted the community to get a pulse. The number of submissions that came back to us were very low.
60.
And then we had a very in-depth workshop from our engineering team, which went into great depth about the quality of the structure and the engineering limitations that were appearing before us, and the fact that the sleeving option 2, which involves sleeving those pipes, which those current steel piles do not conform to current industry jetty standards, and that's why the report came forward.
Sorry. Have you, more questions. Have you consulted with the RSL about this?
I believe we've made our intention clear to the RSL that we were considering this, and they're well aware of that.
Department of Veteran Affairs? They funded part of the project?
No.
The funding...
It's time to wind it up. We've read your email if you've got a concluding comment.
Have I spent 4 minutes, have I? Yep. Okay. Well, I'll just say to you that this document is inaccurate on the pricing, and it is unfair to put and unreasonable for councils have to make a decision about this. As I said, I'm an experienced person in this business, and there is not enough detail in that document to provide an answer on this. And as I said, if you go to the community and ask questions, and then you just ignore that and demolish it.
You've made that point. Thank you very much. Keith Allen.
Mayor and councillors of this city of Albany, my name is Keith Allen, and I live in Centennial Park, and I wish to speak to the removal of the convoy jetty. Regarding the removal of the convoy jetty, I am surprised that in the period of only 15 years, the jetty has come to the end of its safe life. Comparing this with the fact that Ellen Cove Jetty was opened in 1901, and although it has had some reconstruction and refurbishment, is still in usable condition. To me, the fact that the convoy jetty has corroded by up to 62% would appear to be a bad case of underestimation by the original manufacturers of the effects of seawater on steel. The Romans, 2,000 years ago, developed a concrete that in some of their seawater constructions has survived to this day. The information on the composition and mix of this concrete is freely available. This lack of understanding has brought us to this situation of needing to remove a significant memorial to the Anzacs who boarded the convoys to the First World War, many of whom would not return. It is obvious to anyone with even the basic knowledge of reaction between salt water and steel that one of the first offences to reduce corrosion is the addition and regular replacement of sacrificial anodes. In your discussions to this point, has rebuilding with more sustainable material, for example the Roman cement, for the piles been considered? However, to the present situation, the word convoy means in this context a group of ships sailing together for a common objective. This convoy is unique and part of the heritage of Albany history. I believe that this is still the largest convoy that has ever gathered in time of conflict. There were 26 vessels carrying Australian troops, 10 vessels with New Zealand troops, and further along the WA coast, the convoy was joined by 2 vessels from Fremantle with more Australian troops. All the ships were carrying their horses and the rest of necessary equipment. As an ex-serviceman, Royal Air Force Bomber Command, and descendant of family members from the UK who served in the First and Second World Wars, I disagree strongly that the plaques should be dispersed around different areas of the city, as that would break up the concept of a convoy. I agree, though, with respect to submarine HMAS AE2, that the Australian E-Class Submarine Foundation and the RSL should be included in discussions over the plaque to this ship, as AE2 was a naval vessel and escort to the convoy, which was comprised of merchant ships. If I was a descendant of the soldiers who signed up together, boarded together, sailed together, and many of whom died together, I would be very disturbed to have the memorials to these ships dispersed. Please, keep them together, preferably in a designated place at Anzac Peace Park. I trust that in your deliberations as to the fate or otherwise of the convoy jetty, especially in this bicentennial year of our city of Albany, you will come to a decision that is sensitive to the memories of these men and our city history, and which will enhance the standing of this council for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me make it clear, it's not our intention to disrespect the Anzac legacy. We've done a lot in the last 12 years to make sure that we are through that commemorative period, and we're very proud of our Anzac legacy and what we've done in that space. This is a different question, and what happens with the memorial post this decision, one way or the other, whichever way that decision goes, we'll make sure that we're respecting the legacy in the future of the Submariners. Laurie to pledge.
Hi, good evening. In front of you, you should have a little handout from the Friends of Emu Point. We're here to represent the Friends of Emu Point. I'm the president of that organisation, and Robin is the vice president. We all live in Emu Point. Why are we here? We want to encourage the City of Albany to include capital works for Cunningham and Boongarry Street in Emu Point in the city's 26-27 capital works program. This work, there's a lot of history, but it's been in recommendations of sponsored reports from the City of Albany spanning from 2017 to 2021. So it's been there for a long time, and yet no work has yet to materialise in that really important area. The present status for it is it's a popular tourist destination at Emu Point, but the Cunningham and Boongarry Street is an unacceptable condition at present and really needs to have some work done on it. And I'll have Robin speak to that because she actually lives in that street, and she's got some things to talk about that. And also you can see some pictures on your handouts of some of the things she's going to speak to.
Good evening, Chair. Can you hear me? Good evening, Chair Greg Stokes, CEO Andrew, and councillors. Thanks for listening to us. My name is Robin Philpott, and I'm a local resident that lives in Emu Point on the corner of Cunningham Street and Boongarry Street, and I've lived there for 13 years. During this time, the popularity of visitors, both local and holiday makers, to Emu Point has increased substantially. Boongarry and Cunningham Streets are the major thoroughfares for locals, for tourists, visitors to our two caravan parks, Rose Gardens and Emu Beach, and many other accommodation providers in our suburb. Also, many people don't know that the staff and the facility and the families and staff walk residents from the Gwen Hardy Aged Care Lodge to the beach and the cafe along these roads. So there's wheelchairs going along there and people with walking sticks and walkers. These roads are also the routes for the local bus service, Monday to Friday, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and the bus route, school route. The problems are the width and the conditions of these streets. Boongarry is not wide enough. It's not a wide enough road for two cars, let alone a car and a bus, or a bus and a vehicle towing a caravan. This is a daily situation of vehicles being driven off the roads to allow the bus room to drive down Boongarry Street. The roads either needs to be widened or made into one way for the safety of road users and pedestrians. 2. The lack and condition of existing footpath. The footpath along Boongarry was partially removed in 2020 and has never been repaired, even though it has been in the works budget since 2022. Other sections along Boongarry, the footpath has large cracks and is very uneven, and you'll see that on the photos in the brochure in front of you. This footpath is used by the residents and their families of the Gwen Hardy Aged Care Lodge. I would take my own parents with a wheelchair for walks, and they found the path extremely uncomfortable and at times, when I hit a bump, a bit distressing. At the start of Boongarry, where the footpath was removed, I would have to walk the wheelchair on the road before getting down the road to where I could access the footpath. The footpath then ends at Boongarry and Cunningham Street, where once again one must walk on the road to get to the dual pedestrian path in front of the beach.
Mrs. Philpott, ask you to wind up.
Okay, quickly. There's no curbing along there, and drainage is a problem. I have had many dangerous situations involving buses and pedestrians due to the road, and we would urge you to please consider this for the next budget coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. I can advise you that Boongarry and Cunningham Street are in the long-term financial plan to be dealt with in the 26-27 summer, and that we have a design for the termination of the revetment wall where we have that erosion, so that's planned for next year as well. So you should see some action. I'm sure Deputy Mayor Terry won't let us off the hook in that respect. He's been at us for a fair while over that. So, noted. Oscar Colbang.
Thanks, Chair. My name's Oscar Colbang. I live at McHale in Albany. I'm here tonight to talk about the bicentenary. And as mentioned earlier, back in 2024, we requested a meeting with the councillors, which yourself was at, Mayor and CEO and some of the other councillors here. We raised concerns back then about the inclusion of all Noongars into the bicentenary. To date, our request has been neglected, or there's no notice given to us about how other Noongars get involved. The reference committee of the Albany Bicentenary Committee is made up of about nine family members, and those are the same people who's doing the activities right throughout the bicentenary year. Now the question is to the council: is this fair for all Noongars? You know, Lynn McLaren talked about how good it is for the Noongars to be involved, or the Menang people. Now I'm a Menang Noongar, and my families go back to the oldest Menang group in this area, and we've been neglected and excluded from the old process. Not only myself and not my family, but other Noongar families as well. If you look at the people who's doing the current activities, it's the same people who's on the reference committee, handpicked by Waggle Cap. And we spoke to the mayor and the councillors when they come out to the farm, and all we asked for was be included in the process. And no notice was given to us. And everyone sitting around the table there rejected our request. We want to be part of the process. Here's an opportunity for all Noongars to be involved, all the community to be involved, but we're excluded. And I just want to say, ask the council to maybe let us know who are the current families who are carrying out the bicentenary operations. Why aren't other Noongars involved? The council missed a great opportunity for total inclusion. And you talk about reconciliation, well, what it's done now is chuck the reconciliation action plan out the window. So Noongars are saying, well, if that's the way the council is operating, why would we want to be involved in reconciliation? Reconciliation includes everyone, not just half a dozen family members or people who are sitting on committees. When we spoke to your councillors at the farm there, you said, you got one Colbong rep on there. Now, it's like you guys sitting around the table here. What difference do one person make when it comes to decision making? In the end, he walked out. And that means that, our family and other families have been excluded. There's about over 1,000 Noongars in Albany here, and there's only 9 Noongar family reps involved in the bicentenary. And, you missed a great opportunity because there was a lot of other stories that could have been told from other Noongar families. And so, I'm not going to keep on harping on about it and keep on crying about it. I just want to, bring it to your attention that there's exclusion done. And, there's one of the council made a comment about our connection to this country, Menang people. We're not connected through the bloodroot plant. We're connected through our burunga, our totems. We're connected through our spirits, our wurun, and our ancestors. It's not done nothing to do with the plant. That's someone else's story, not mine, and not my family's story. So I just want to thank you all for listening tonight. But I just wanted to come along and share our disappointment that the council rejected our concerns.
Thank you. We're well aware of your disappointment. We've had many conversations since that meeting in 2024. The Wogglecite are the elected member body for the Southwest, and it's the vehicle that we use to get a cultural advice committee together. The point of the bicentennial was to bring Indigenous culture of this area to the forefront, and I think we've done that, but not to your satisfaction, and I apologise that you feel that way. But we are trying to navigate some pretty difficult circumstances there, Oscar, and you have been invited to the table on a number of occasions, but you have not been invited to that the Cultural Advice Committee, because there is a member of your family on the other side of your family who is attending on your behalf. I know that doesn't satisfy you, and I know that you feel like, and I know that you feel like you are not being represented. You are very welcome to come and see us at any time and put your story forward. Mandy Arnold.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. Mandy Arnold, Yakamaya. I'm addressing you on behalf of the Friends of Yakamaya Forest Budja. We acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, this unceded land, the Budja, the Menang peoples, and especially Uncle Oscar here. I'd just like to enlighten you all about the truly phenomenal biodiversity which we are blessed to have, all of us that live here in Albany, on lot 4743, just up here. A local botanist did a very thorough survey and told us that lot 4743 has 11 times more plant diversity and species per hectare than either Kings Park or Bold Park in Perth. Lot 4743 has 181 plant species in 15 hectares between Target Road and Yakamaya Creek, giving us a ratio of 12 plants to 1 hectare. Now, Kings Park, the jewel in the crown of Perth, known nationally and internationally, has 326 plants across 400 hectares. And if you do your maths, that's less than 1 plant per hectare of diversity. Bold Park, another well-known park in Perth, has 310 plant diversity species across 437 acres, giving you even less plants per hectare. Now, these parks are beacons of biodiversity in Perth. As I said, internationally, Kings Park stands out. And Bold Park is a national park, so that's an Australian national treasure. But what do we have here in Albany? Only a stone's throw from this building. We have a precious ecological gem in lot 4743 and the Yakamaya Forest. 6 different types of native vegetation, all interconnected and working together as an amazing ecosystem. This habitat supports a myriad of animals, including critically endangered marsupials, quenda, kangaroos, the birds, especially the 3 different types of cockatoos, the black cockatoos, the reptiles, insects and more. Please, Mayor and councillors, please cherish this environmental jewel on our doorstep we have in lot 4743, and please don't put a road anywhere near it. Thank you.
Thank you. Evelyn Bittner.
Good evening, Chair and councillors. My name is Evelyn Bittner and I live on North Road, Ellicott, which is what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm actually here to convince you tonight that North Road, Ellicott is in desperate need of some upgrade. It needs to have a better standard of grading and more frequent grading. I have put in a petition on this particular item, and it has been, I have got a receipt for it, but I don't think you people have had time to see it. So eventually you will. I've visited every household in the street, and everyone had a tale to tell about their car rattling and the poons and the corrugations and all the rest of it. So I'm sure you all know about that. And they're all behind this opportunity that I have here tonight and want me to, or, wish me all the best to get this through. So I've got their backing, and I'm speaking on behalf of them as well. And it's a very small petition because there are only 10 houses in North Road, Ellicott. If you look at the road up on the internet, you'd they would have you believe that North Road is a small, quiet, insignificant road with only 10 houses, and the road only accesses the properties. Well, North Road is much, much more than that. It's the only access to the properties, and more importantly, it's the only exit. So we depend on this road to keep us safe from fires, floods, earthquakes and prison escapees, domestic violences, whatever you'd like to call it, whatever reason you need to get out of that place, that's the road we have to use. It's also the only access for police, ambulances, gas deliveries, services, fire brigades, and the rest of it. So it's a very important road. It is our lifeline. If our road is made impassable by corrugations, potholes, hoons, and all those other things that create bad roads, we are totally isolated. Now, at the end of I keep going to say North Lake Road because I used to live in Perth. North Road, Ellicott. At the very end of North Road, Ellicott, there is a lovely four-wheel drive track which attracts thousands, literally thousands of huge vehicles which cause a lot of damage to our road. And that is the only access to Torbay Inlet, which also leads to Muttonbird Surf Beach. I have spoken to your road manager. His name is Albany, and I don't know his surname, but we had a conversation on my property at my request, and he has told me that over the Christmas break this year, we had over 6,000 vehicles over our little road. It's only about 2 kilometres long with 10 houses. So where are all those 6,000 people coming from? The four-wheel drive track. That's where the hoons come from, and that's where all the damage comes from, I'm afraid to say. Also, on any weekend or long weekend or school, public holidays, those sorts of things, the average per day is 66 cars per day.
Ms. Bidner, I'll ask you to wind it up, please.
Okay. So you can see the importance of the road and why and how it has become damaged. Now, I spoke to the things on your commitment, and you have traffic volume percentage and heavy vehicles tick. I've just explained that. Tourists galore, tick. Existing alternative sealed roads, well, we don't have any existing roads, and I think you've got the message.
Thanks very much.
So thank you, that's all I've come to say. Thank you. Oh, I forgot.
Steve Grimmer.
I forgot to show you the rock they put on the road to make
Thank you.
better.
Take a seat.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Councillors. Steve Grimmer from Young Siding, and I'm going to talk about the Nullakai lime pit, but from a community perspective, which is a lived experience. I love being part of the Young Siding community. It's made up of people who care about each other and about nature. When a family or person is going through a tough time, the community rallies around them to provide care and support. We live in a beautiful part of a country where everyone is supposed to be treated fairly and equally. In 2019, the WA SET ignored the will of the local community and 2 unanimous votes by our local council by approving a mining operation in a conservation zone with the stated purpose of preserving, protecting and enhancing the natural environment. While disappointed, we were assured by prominent politicians and our local government that the WA SET decision, including the 45 conditions imposed, were binding and would be enforced to their full intent. We were advised that the decision could only be challenged on a point of law in the Supreme Court. Within 6 weeks of operation commencing, the site was shut down by WorkSafe based on 13 significant safety breaches. And evidence has been provided of numerous other condition breaches, including sand drift, early starts, trucks not being covered, and there was a City of Albany report last year showing that over 80% of the trucks were speeding past a traffic counter on a narrow country road. Despite what we were told in these serious breaches of conditions, the proponent has been allowed to take the matter back to the WA-SAT with a view to removing the conditions that the WA-SAT itself imposed. We find it extraordinary that an independent judicial body is prepared to revisit a decision that they've already taken when there is no change to what was originally asked for. We thank Council and the City of Albany for supporting our community and nature. It is our hope that the WA-SAT will show the fairness and consistency to uphold their original decision and direct this operation to start meeting all the conditions imposed. After all, they are allowed to operate over the 4 months that farmers require lime. And I thought I'd finish off like I had when I was in this place in another role with a poem, and it's called Young Siding. And it really explains why we live where we do, and it goes something like this. The calm and gentle lifestyle has brought us to this place. The beauty of the coastline, the sun upon our face, the clear blue skies above us, the moonlit summer nights, the gentle sounds of nature, the stars that shine so bright, environmental gatherings, planting out the trees, having fun together on our busy working bees. Thank you, friends and neighbours. We show we really care. We're a community that matters because of what we share. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, we've got one more speaker. I think we probably are right on the cusp. Can I just take a vote, please, that we extend to get that last speaker? So, show of hands. Thank you. So, Lisa Bryan.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Lisa Bryan and I'm speaking on behalf of a number of residents from the Williang and Kelty View area. And we're here tonight to urge councillors to please continue to reject any further subdivision applications in this area. We've only recently become aware that subdivision within our locality has been approved, and this has understandably caused a lot of concern. One of the key concerns relates to notification and transparency in the planning process. In correspondence that residents received from the City of Albany, we were advised that changes to the local planning scheme number 2 followed an extensive public consultation process that went beyond the minimum legal requirements, including letters to the affected residents. While some of us recall receiving a general notification that the planning scheme was being updated, this information was broad in nature and didn't really clearly identify the specific changes or their potential impact on the Williang and Kelty View area. And as a result, many residents would not have understood that these changes could directly affect their properties or the future development of the locality. So we ask that you think about, in terms of your notification and your transparency in planning processes, what might be improved there. A second concern relates to infrastructure and the practical implications of the zoning change. When residents purchased properties in this locality, it was clearly understood to be a special rural area. The infrastructure reflects that planning intent. There's no stormwater drainage system, there's very little curbing, minimal street lighting, compared with what would normally be expected in a residential suburb. Residents accepted this when purchasing their properties because the area was intended to remain low-density special rural. However, if the zoning now effectively allows residential densities under an R25 coding, residents are concerned about whether the existing infrastructure is adequate to support the change, particularly when other subdivisions within Albany appear to require stormwater drainage and other urban infrastructure as part of the development process. A third concern relates to the environmental intent of the original planning for this locality. Many of these properties were created as special rural lifestyle blocks with protections intended to safeguard both the King River and the tributary of the King River that runs along the boundary of these properties. These included fenced riparian corridors, vegetation protection, building restrictions near the waterway and strict wastewater requirements. Residents are concerned that increased subdivision and higher residential density may undermine the intent of those protections and place additional pressure on the tributary system and surrounding floodplain. Council's recent response acknowledged these concerns, thank you, and advised that issues such as environmental impacts, bushfire safety and amenity were raised with the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage. And the response also noted that while the city supports the densification of rural living areas, this should occur through a comprehensive structural planning process with proper public consultation. And I'm aware that you guys know that this did not happen in this case. For residents, it raises an important question about whether the planning processes intended to guide and manage such development were followed. We understand that subdivision approvals sit with the Western Australian Planning Commission, but we do know that you play an important part in representing our community, and we do appreciate the offer to broker a meeting with the Commission, and one we'd like to take you up on, please. As a final reflection, the philosopher Immanuel Kant suggested that we should judge actions, whether they're right or wrong, by asking what would happen if everyone acted in the same way. While the area might absorb 1 or 2 subdivisions, if every landowner exercised that same right, the cumulative impact would be catastrophic for the character, environment of the locality. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just for clarification, the local planning scheme number 2 was carried out after very extensive public consultation process that we undertook. You've got to understand it's 4,800 square kilometres in our district, and it's very hard to drill down when you're doing such a general advertisement, and we do rely on people to come in and make their submissions. So that said, and that you acknowledge that the WAPC are the decision maker in relation to subdivisions approvals. We certainly didn't support that, and we will continue to acknowledge and share your concerns, as well as the environmental concerns, bushfire safety and amenity and other things. We'll be representing you at DPLH, and yes, whilst our strategy supports densification of rural living areas through, we think the structured planning process is the way that should have happened. It didn't. This proper public consultation, in our view, probably didn't occur in this, unfortunately, but we will continue to advocate. So you're heard. We understand your concerns, and we'll be taking that up with you, and we'll organise that meeting. That concludes public question time. As thrilling as this might seem, you're very welcome to leave. Mr. CEO, any applications for leave of absence?
No, thank you. No applications have been received, Mr. Mayor. I'll just check if there is anybody that would like to make application. No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
There are no petitions and deputations. Confirmation of the previous minutes. The draft motion is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the Tuesday, the 24th of February 2026, as previously distributed, be confirmed as a true and accurate record of proceedings. Someone to move. Councillor Brough, Councillor Clark, Councillor Brough, Councillor Clark. Anyone speaking against? No, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
There are no presentations, and there's no unresolved business. There is some unresolved business from a previous meeting, sorry, DIS 458, the Albany Waterwise Strategy. We've decided that we'll be presenting that in April 2026, post the decision and advice provided at the DIS committee meeting held in March 2026. Moving on to reports, CCS 777. The recommendation before you is that the monthly financial report for the period ending 31st of January 2026 be received. Someone to move. Thank you, Councillor Sutton, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Sutton. Councillor McLaren. Anyone speaking against? No. Put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
CCS 778, that the list of accounts authorised for payment under delegated authority to the Chief Executive Officer for the period ending 31st of January 2026 totalling $8,159,322.22 be received. Someone to move. Councillor Clark, Councillor McLaren, Councillor Clark, Councillor McLaren. Anyone speaking against? No, put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
CCS 779. The recommendation is that the delegated authority reports for the 16th of January 2026 to the 15th of February 2026 be received. Someone to move that. Councillor McKinley, Councillor Sutton, Councillor McKinley. Councillor Sutton. Good. Sometimes you surprise us. Anyone speaking against? No, all those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
CCS 780. Committee recommendation is that the Council approve a non-exclusive licence to Virgin Australia Regional Airlines Proprietary Limited over allocated areas within the Albany Regional Airport Terminal located at 35615 Albany Highway, Drome, subject to the terms and conditions outlined in section 12 of this report. Someone to move. Councillor Clark. Seconder, Councillor McKinley, Councillor Clark, Councillor McKinley. Anyone speaking against? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
CCS 781. The recommendation is that the City of Albany Communications and Engagement Strategy Progress Report for quarter 4 2025 and its endorsement by the Communications and Engagement Advisory Group be noted. Someone to move that. Councillor Stevens, Councillor Clark, Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think just watching the public question time tonight, I think it's really important to note that the community engagement advisory group is highly important to what we do on council. And I think there is room for improvement to make sure that it's not just a tick and flick box, and that we do include members from the community, which we do have on our committee. There's a vacant position at the moment, and I think it's really important to listen to the voices of those people and to make sure, whether it's a planning issue or a sport and recreation issue or a park, that those voices are heard, and that we actually take the time to read the recommendations from the community group, but also act and also probably invest a bit more money into the budget so that we can do proper engagement, not just limited engagement. And it does take time, money and resources, and I acknowledge that, but I think it's really important if we want to make informed decisions at some of our meetings. So I absolutely endorse this recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Clark. Anyone speaking against? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
CCS 782. It's the Government Assurance Review Code of Conduct. Behavioural Breach Determination Pathway and Complaints Reform 2026 reforms. Now, at the committee, we move these en bloc. If there are no objections, I'll do the same. If there is any objection, I'll move them one by one. Anyone objecting to moving en bloc? No? Okay. The recommendation is that recommendations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 8 be adopted en bloc. Someone to move that, please. Councillor Stevens. Deputy Mayor Terry, Councillor Stevens.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look, code of conduct, very important because it sets some ground rules as to what we should or shouldn't say. With the changes of the regulations in relation to the monitor, the existing code of conduct is out of date and we need to update it. there haven't really been much changes, especially in relation to the behavioural standards. They've remained unchanged, and the revised code strengthens governance and compliance by removing outdated designations, clarifying lawful responsibility for the receipt and determination of behavioural breach complaints, embedding mandatory referral and monitoring provisions, and clearly distinguishing between behavioural breaches and conduct breaches under Part 8A. So it's really, something we need to have there in place. It needs to be updated. We need to do this before the end of this month. We need to agree to this code of conduct. It's a model code of conduct. We don't have any say as to the contents of that code of conduct. And also just like to remind some of those around the room that when you became a councillor, you agreed in a declaration right there to agree to the code of conduct that was agreed or put together and agreed by council. So you have made that declaration, and I urge you to uphold that declaration and support the code of conduct. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Bruff.
Thanks very much, Mayor. I can't remember who said it, but it's when the facts change, I changed my mind, and look, you'll have to hear again from me that I'll be voting against the whole package. I don't dispute the statutory obligation to adopt an amended code by 31st of March, but my concern is the actual content of the code itself, specifically the provisions we're required to adopt wholesale and have no discretion to water down. And for that reason, the state government gets an eat my shorts from me. Clause 8.1b requires that a councillor must only publish material that is factually correct. You've heard all this before, but I need to say it again. No qualification, no reasonably believed to be true, no good faith exception, an absolute obligation covering every social media post, every newsletter, every public statement made in an elected capacity. Politics involves contested facts. Policy involves judgment calls on incomplete information. Advocacy involves making arguments that other people disagree with, including, I'd note, arguments about matters where there is genuine and reasonable public disagreement about what the facts actually are. A provision that exposes a councillor to a behavioural complaint anytime someone disputes the accuracy of something they've published is not a governance safeguard. It is a mechanism for silencing dissent and fostering groupthink. It's not just Clause 8, look at the behaviour obligations in Dib 3 more broadly. Calling out poor performance, disparagement. Questioning a decision can be imputing motives. Robust criticism, the kind that accountability actually requires, becomes a conduct risk. These obligations are so broad that a councillor doing their job properly, asking hard questions, holding the line on behalf of their constituents, is perpetually one complaint away from a formal process. During committee, when I outlined these concerns, the city's own typically inscrutable manager of governance and risk had his head nodding more than a starving chook at a grain terminal. That is a signal that councillors should heed. My second concern is enforcement. If a complaint succeeds, if the whole process runs a course and a breach is found, council may do nothing, or it may require the offending councillor to attend counselling or mediation. An enforcement mechanism with the bite of a newborn baby. It's not a serious governance instrument. I'd also note that recommendation 7, the complaint management framework that was supposed to provide the overarching governance architecture for this whole package, was withdrawn by staff at committee. So we're being asked to adopt the code, the complaint form, the policies and the implementation plan, minus the framework that was supposed to hold it all together. That should give members pause. A code that contains pernicious provisions injurious to the free exercise of elected office must be opposed by any right-thinking person who believes that freedom is better than coercion. On the question of who determines behavioural breach complaints, I said at committee, and I'll say it again, I support option A. Council should retain the function. Not because I think this is fit for purpose, I've made it clear I don't, but because if complaints are to be determined at all, elected members should be the ones accountable for those determinations. Delegating that function to a committee or an external person is abdication. As I said before, we're elected to make difficult decisions. This is one of them. We got to own it.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak for? No, you get right to reply. You had your opportunity, you moved it. So you get, at the end, you get to have a say. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Mel. Just very briefly, I don't disagree with the code of conduct. Wholeheartedly agree with it, in fact. But it's the backstory of what's in the back of it. You know, who determines truth? It's like the government's idea of federal government is they determine what's true and what's not. And that's what I don't like, so I can't vote for it, even though I agree with the code of conduct and we should obey it. That's the backstory I don't like.
Anyone wish to speak for or against? Councillor Stevens?
Just a clarification.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor. If this was voted down, Mr. CEO, what would be the implication for the city by not approving the model code of conduct?
I'll defer to the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand that if we weren't to support this, it still is a requirement to have this adopted by the 31st of March. So I think, from my understanding, we'd have to confirm that, but I think that would be imposed on us to be compliant.
In the form of another council meeting?
Yeah, I think it would automatically be applied even though the council might not agree to accept it. So that the legislation may have the power to impose that.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak for or against? No, Councillor Stevens, you have a right to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While you probably don't believe it, I do agree with some of the comments from Councillor Brough and Councillor Sutton around some of the nuances within these recommendations and I guess the government enforcing these on council. What I would like to see is that we as the City of Albany can agree that we need the code of conduct and that we agree to certain standards that we want to lead within our community. I think we have done so much good work, and when you think of former Mayor Wellington and where the council was when he first started, I'm wholeheartedly like the different opinions of people that sit around this chamber. I think it makes it a robust council, and I have the respect for all of you sitting here, and I do absolutely value the different opinions and debate, but I do believe there is a code of conduct with respect, with non-prejudice, with non-racism, and all of those other comments you could make that we should all sign up to as a group and as a team to make sure that we deliver the best we can for the City of Albany, regardless of every other recommendation in here. And I hope for the councillors that are new, of Councillor Clark and I, and the councillors that have been here, you sign up to this, you sign a code of conduct, and I hope that we can work together to make sure that we can have a fantastic community, and I fully support these recommendations, noting the comments from the councillors against.
Thank you. That closes debate. I'll ask, put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against?
Lost for 5. Those for Mayor Stocks, Councillor Stevens, Councillor Deputy Mayor Terry and Councillor McLaren.
That'll probably...
So, Mr Mayor, given that that motion was lost, we'll need to provide you with some further guidance on the advice that I gave to you earlier during the meeting, but I think we'll do our checking in terms of the requirements and what must come next from here, and we'll provide that advice to you separately after the meeting, as soon as we have the chance to check that. Thank you.
Tonight?
Not tonight. I mean, the meeting will continue, and then we'll provide that within the next day or two.
Well, thank you. CCS 783. The recommendation is that Council endorse the strategic intent document for the Harry Riggs Albany Regional Airport Enhancement Project. Note that the project maintains the airport's existing Code 3C operational classification. 3. Note Any future proposal to alter operational classification or materially expand capacity will be subject to separate business case assessment and council consideration. 4, note that the project, Gantt chart and stage delivery approach. And 5, note that project risks will be managed in accordance with the city's enterprise risk and opportunity management framework. Someone to move? Councillor Clark, seconder. Councillor Bruff, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is an extremely important document and something that we need to get behind and get moving. That's all. The work's all done and we know a lot of the information about it.
Councillor Bruff. Anyone speaking against? No? Put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
DIS 465. The recommendation is that Council request the Minister for Lands to excise 7 hectares of land from Reserve 298883 for dedication as road reserves for Shane Road and Hassel Beach Road pursuant to Section 56 of the Land Administration Act 1997, subject to final survey. And 2, indemnify the Minister for Lands from any claims for compensation in an amount equal to the amount of all costs and expenses reasonably incurred by the Minister in considering and granting the request pursuant to Section 56(4) of the Land Administration Act 1997. And 3, request the Minister for Lands to close 7 hectares of the unused road reserves for Shane Road and Hassel Beach Road pursuant to Section 58 of the Land Administration Act 1997, subject to final survey. And 4, request the Minister for Lands to incorporate the closed roads into Reserve 29883. Someone to move that, please. Councillor Sutton, Councillor McKinley, Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, not much to say on this other than it's righting a wrong. It's housekeeping. The road was put in the wrong spot originally, so this is going to right the wrong. No big deal. Urge all other councillors to support it. Thank you.
Councillor McKinley. Anyone speaking against? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
DIS 466. The committee recommend, yes, Councillor Sutton. Yes. We'll just have a short adjournment. I'll call you to order. Councillor Sutton has returned. So DIS 466. The recommendation is that Council approve the budget amendments to transfer an amount of $127,272 from from the Public Open Space Reserve WO 12069.2703 allocating to the following projects. 1. WAC.C 1526 upgrades to the Central Precinct POS, including path access around the lake for the Radio Control Sailing Club, and additional shelter and trees for the fenced dog park, 12,272. Secondly, WO.C 1523 improved boundary fencing around Oval E and Barsby Drive, $50,000. Number 3, WO.C 1524 convert old gravel car park to grassed area for community use, $15,000. And 4, WO.C 1521 Youth Challenge Park multi-use court, path connections and landscaping, $50,000. Have someone to move that, please. Councillor Clark, seconder. Deputy Mayor Terry, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. These are very high use areas within our community, and I would strongly encourage, particularly around that fencing for Overlea Barnsby Drive. You and I have personally visited that area, and that's an area that's going to be used a fair bit, particularly by soccer, etc. And it's there to cater for the increased use of young women in these sort of sports. And I think I would encourage everyone to get behind these things because they're community use and they're for everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Terry. Anyone speaking against? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
DIS 467. The recommendation is the Council directs the CEO to arrange for the demolition of the Peace Park jetty at a time that does not conflict with Albany 2026 events and subject to that constraint as soon as practicable. And secondly, to increase WA.2489 Peace Park Memorial Jetty investigation and major maintenance from 20,000 to 220,000 funding from Parking, Bridges and Marine Structure Reserve to demolish the Peace Park jetty. Someone to move that, please. Councillor Brough, for seconder. Councillor Sutton, Councillor Brough.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to acknowledge the contributions of the community who came and spoke tonight, including Peter, and also the people who participated in the survey. I understand why this is a difficult decision. The people have plaques on that jetty. They have ashes scattered off the end. Families visit it to remember people they've lost. That connection is real, and I don't think anyone on this council takes it lightly. And council's job is to consider this and take it into account. Council's job is also to make decisions with other people's money that we can justify, and the numbers here are unforgiving. 36 piles, up to 62% steel loss. 350,000 to patch it up with no improvements and uncertain longevity. $500,000 to do it properly for a structure that may well be back in the same condition in another 15 years, given the marine environment. Against that, 220,000 to remove it, salvage the plaques and decking, and free the reserve from an open-ended liability. It's not just the capital outlay. If we repair, we're committing the reserve to ongoing maintenance costs in one of the harshest marine environments in the state, year after year, with no guaranteed endpoint. Every dollar sunk into keeping a structurally compromised jetty upright is a dollar unavailable for roads, footpaths, drainage, grading of North Road in Ellicott, and dozens of other assets across the city that ratepayers depend on a daily basis. Section 3.18 of the Local Government Act requires us to satisfy ourselves that the facilities we provide are managed efficiently and effectively. Pouring money into a 15-year-old structure with 62% steel loss does not meet that test. What I do want to put on record is a question that this report hasn't answered. How did $500,000 of Commonwealth infrastructure funding produce an asset with a 15-year lifespan? That is an extraordinary failure of either design, materials, specification, or construction oversight, possibly all of the above. And I think it's a textbook example of what happens when governments are spending someone else's money against a grant deadline. The incentive is to get it built, not to get it built to last. Nobody's career suffers when a grant-funded asset corrodes 15 years later. The grant bodies moved on, the pollies who cut the ribbon have moved on, and the ratepayers are left holding a corroded pile and $250,000 demolition bill. Spend fast, build cheap, worry later is perhaps endemic to grant-funded infrastructure, and every time we encounter it, we should name it for what it is, a potential failure of stewardship with public money. So for these reasons, I support the demolition, but I'd ask that officers give proper consideration for how the salvage plaques and materials are treated. The community to this structure is genuine, and the least we can do is ensure those elements are relocated with the respect they deserve.
Thank you. Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm going to take a slightly different tack on this one. Look, I was around when this was done. I think, I can never remember the community being asked about this. My memory says it was basically forced upon us by the federal government, a great idea. Now, we heard earlier that was mentioned of the people that went on the ships and didn't come back. During the war, First World War and Second World War, during and after the aftermath, terrible financial times. We know it was a Great Depression, horrible times. And I think that the people that did leave and didn't come back would be horrified if they could see money, which was hard to come by, poured into something that's going to keep taking money. I'm sure that we can actually collect the plaques, put them somewhere on Peace Park so they all can be viewed quite easily and they're all together, so the respect is still there. And we've already heard that we'd be able to save a lot of the decking and recycle that to Lake Sepping. So it's not about lack of respect. In fact, I think it's the opposite. It's actually respecting that money is really hard to get, as those people knew firsthand, and we're keeping the memory, and we'll actually get to do something with the recycled material. From a user point of view, I would much rather be putting that annual money into the swimming enclosure at Middleton Beach. So more value for money and a greater use of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. You wish to speak against Councillor McLaren?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to put a few things on the record in a speech opposing this motion. And I did bring this up at committee, and I think it's worthwhile raising this again. And Councillor Brough has made it pretty clear that when we build something, we should actually have some plan for how to maintain it. And it is a failure on our part that we didn't maintain this, or that it didn't, meet the criteria that a jetty of this nature should meet. Is it a transport asset, or is it a recreational asset, or is it a heritage asset? It's kind of all those things. And it was, even when we were very first asked about it and advised that it was a safety issue, I asked the question, what is its purpose? How does it fit into the whole picture of the city of Albany? And we had to get another report to tell us those details, which we got subsequently, and thanks to Peter Brown, who spoke today in statement time, we learned a little bit more about that, and the fact that it does have a particular name, which is Pier of Remembrance. And even that hasn't really been, used repeatedly. We haven't really acknowledged its significance, and therefore we haven't looked after it. And I think we heard tonight, and in all the public submissions that we got, that people in Albany do care about recognizing this part of our heritage. And some people have a personal connection with it. And I think the reason for me standing up and speaking now is so we don't lose sight of that. And if we do let go of this jetty, we think about some other appropriate way that we can budget for the maintenance of a similar type mechanism. Maybe it's a jetty of remembrance that's use the proper materials that can last 50 years. And in the committee, I read to members the advice that I'd received from a local engineer who knows about jetties, who suggested some materials that we could use. And even those ideas of how to save this jetty would cost us more money than demolishing it. So demolishing it is costing us a lot, and we would have to spend a bit more to keep it. And I also asked, did we look at other funding sources? What about, other funding sources? Because it was recommended, maybe Fish West. And what was the other one? Recreational Fishing Initiatives Fund is something. And none of these we looked into, because is it a fishing jetty? Is it a transport infrastructure? Is it a heritage piece of heritage? So I think we've learned a lot about the jetty that we didn't know before, but the fundamental part of it in my mind is it's unsafe. It's unsafe to keep it. It's not fulfilling the purpose now. We didn't put in whole of life asset management plans for it when it put in. I think we've learned that lesson since that time, and that we do that. And I hope we remember to do that when we build new infrastructure. And fundamentally, I think the people spoke for this and wanted it, and there was only a tiny percentage of the comments that were prepared to let go of it. So we do have to take it serious, and if we let go of this jetty, recognizing that it's fallen into disrepair and it makes good economic sense to demolish it at this time, then we need to take on board those other concerns that the people have, that our heritage is adequately recognized in this area, and that the original purpose of it, which was brought to us by Peter Brown today, is respected in future budgets. We need to do something better than this, and that's why I'm speaking against it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for the motion? Deputy Mayor Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On this issue, I'm lockstep with Councillor Brough, and what he said, I would have said.
He's having a good day, isn't he?
We don't always agree, but when we do, it's good. The couple of points I just wanted to make was that it's a $220,000 exercise, or again a $350,000 exercise to maintain it, or to bring it back up to spec. But then there's the ongoing cost for maintaining that, and as Councillor Brough said, and in the report, there's no longevity guarantee, so we might be back here in 10 or 15 years having to take it away and demolish it anyway. We had a briefing last week with our long-term financial plan, and the whole heap of cost pressures that are coming onto us, especially roads, the airport, with the increased fuel costs. We need to be really mindful, and the dollar is getting squeezed more and more, and we really need to be mindful of what we commit to doing, what we commit to spending, and being quite thrifty in some regards as to what we're doing with ratepayers' money, so that we don't have to go to them with extra cap in hand to increase rates more than what we would really like to do. So this is really it's sad to let it go. I recognise all the people that made submissions for it. I wish we could keep it, but it comes with a big cost. And as has been explained, some of the parts of the jetty can be used and repurposed. The plaques can be put somewhere else, and especially that AE2 plaque up at the Anzac Centre or somewhere up there would be a good place for it. So urge all to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against Councillor Leonetti?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've been all for knocking it down up till probably last week and a bit. I've had a lot of the community come in and see me, and all the older people have actually got nowhere. They've got to crawl down the rocks to go for a swim. And like they said, if that jetty wasn't as high as Mount Everest, and actually was as high as high tide, and put some stairs on it, they could actually use that jetty to get in and out for their swimming. And as Councillor McKinley said during the presentations, there's kids that actually do go down there and fish and use that jetty. And I think pulling it out, okay, it's $220,000 to pull it out, $350 to fix it. Well, I'm not being rude, and I know Lottery West have paid for the lights. That's for 9 days. This is for life. I prefer to spend 350,000 there and have our community use something that's going to be there for a longer time than what we do sometimes. So I really think we should all keep it for our community, but have it lowered. Now we've got to repair it anyway. The platform's good. I reckon we just get it dropped, spend a little bit more, get it dropped, and utilise it so the older people down there can actually go in and out safely, because they said it's very hard climbing down the rocks at due south around the entertainment centre. So I really push for councillors to actually repair it. Thank you.
Point of clarification, I've had a discussion with Department of Transport. There will be some steps behind due south going in as a means to get into, do that swim in the next month. Anyone wish to speak for or against? Councillor McKinley.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I've obviously with the kids do a fair bit of fishing in that area. You know, when for squid, it's a good squidding zone in certain times of the year, and if they use the right building materials, we can make that jetty last for a long time. That's the thing. They've used the wrong materials, and now it's costing us. But if we use the right materials, we can rectify and have that jetty there for long term. And also, it's in a prominent part of town. It's near Peace Park. The tourists use that area as well. You know, they walk out on the jetty, take in the harbour. So I think we're rushing into the decision to demolish it. I think we need to make sure we really consider this this situation and make sure that we look long term here, because it's a nice jetty. It's got good location, and I think if we think about that, we can make this, do it properly the first time. We've had a few building options, and we do it right, we can fix this and do it properly. So I will vote against the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to contribute? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to make a few clarifications around some of the comments that have been made. In regard to Councillor Netti's point of kids swimming and older people swimming off that jetty, I'm pretty sure you've seen the tide coming in and out. You're not swimming anywhere, so it's not really relevant. The jetty was made for a memorial jetty, and so people go, I think the intent originally was to go and stand, reflect, and have and to read those plaques. And I think we've also lost other significant sites up at the Submariners Memorial site, up at the Anzac, up at the forts. And I think we have a precinct, and we should move those items up to that precinct and make it a more of an experience. So when you do go up to see the National Anzac Centre, it will incorporate into the forts and be restored and retained forever, rather than when we're not here in years to come. There is also funding that was made as an election commitment for an all abilities jetty, which I think would be a far more appeasable solution to make sure that the city has some input into where there is no location that's been chosen. So I think if it was to potentially a new fishing jetty, which I think would be great for kids, I want kids to go down to near the Peace Park and go squidding. I think it'd be an awesome idea. I think we should be working with the All Abilities group to make sure that we can find a solution that's not just for them to use, but also for others. So I fully support the removal of the jetty. I do respect its history. I was working here in 2014 when the Anzac commemorations were happening. It was very much we've got some money left in the pot, let's go and do something. So there was little forethought around the longevity, but I do think we can retain the reason for the jetty and the memorial up at the forts. So I will be supporting the committee recommendation.
We're just about done the lot. Does anyone else wish to speak? No? If not, Councillor Bruff, you have right to reply.
Thanks, Mayor. I thought this night couldn't get any funner, but I just want to note how heartening it is to see my progressive colleague, Councillor McLaren, extolling the virtues of preserving legacy infrastructure and opposing wasteful government spending. Welcome to the Conservative tent, my friend. I've saved you a seat.
Okay. With that, we'll close debate. All those in favour? Against?
Carried 7-2 against Councillor McKinley and Councillor Leonetti.
TAS 468. The recommendation is that planning and building reports for February 2026 be received. Someone to move that, please. Deputy Mayor Terry. Seconder, Councillor Clark. Deputy Mayor Terry. Councillor Clark. Anyone speaking against? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
AR 184. Committee recommendation is that the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, one, note that ARIC operates under limited delegation LG 9.01 as recorded in the register of delegations and authorisations, and that officers have confirmed the current delegation remains appropriate and sufficient to support ARIC's assurance and advisory role, with no amendment required at this time. And two, recommend that Council adopt the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee terms of reference as detailed in the attachment to this report. Correction, page 5 and 6, reference from Deputy Presiding Member to Deputy of the Presiding Member. Someone to move that. Thank you. Councillor McLaren, seconder. Councillor Clark. Councillor McLaren? Councillor Clark. Anyone speaking against? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
So LAMAC 042, the recommendation is that the confirmed minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on the 27th November 2025 be received. Someone to move that. Thank you, Councillor Clark. Second, Councillor Sutton. Councillor Clark. Councillor Sutton. Anyone speaking against? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Carried 9-0.
Okay, there is no new business of an urgent nature introduced by a decision of Council, and that takes us to a notice of motion from Councillor Bruff. Councillor Bruff, if you'd like to read your motion.
Thanks, Mayor. So it is that Council adopt the practice of commencing each ordinary council meeting with the singing of the national anthem, Advance Australia Fair, effective immediately.
I have a seconder for that. Councillor McKinley. Councillor Bruff.
Thanks, Mayor. Bob Hawke was many things, not all of them conservative, but he was right about this country more often than most politicians of any stripe. In 1988, on our national holiday at the bicentenary of European settlement, he said, "In Australia, there is no hierarchy of descent. There must be no privilege of origin. The commitment is all. The commitment to Australia is the only thing needful to be a true Australian." This is what Australia's national anthem represents. Not ancestry, not origin, not, when you got here, just the shared fact of being Australian and the civic commitment that goes with it. There is no good reason why the national anthem of the country, whose laws we administer and whose democratic institutions we serve, should not also feature at the commencement of these proceedings. Advance Australia Fair is not a partisan statement, it's a unifying one. And, to borrow from Hawke, again, loosely, any member who doesn't back this motion is a bum.
I'd prefer you hadn't said that. Do you want to withdraw that?
Loosely quoting.
I'm giving you an option to withdraw it.
I'll take the risk with the code of conduct.
All right. Councillor McKinley.
Yes, a great. I obviously support the Australian National Anthem being sang before every council meeting. It's a very important institution of Australia, and I fully support this motion. So I was going to keep it nice, short and sweet. So let's get it done. So thank you.
Anyone speaking against? Deputy Mayor Terry.
Not against, just proposed a slight amendment. So I don't know if we all just want to be singing the national anthem without any backing music. So, because I don't know if our voices would be that great, and I don't know if the audience would like to listen to us just singing. So I just propose, rather than the word singing, with the playing of the national anthem.
Councillor Bruff, is that acceptable to you?
A ripper. Yeah.
So, are you going to move that?
Is the seconder happy?
Is the seconder happy with that?
Yep.
Councillor McKinley, are you happy?
Yep.
All right, let's just amend that.
Definitely.
All right. All right. So I think we'll just make that the substantive motion. Does anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I loved singing the national anthem and still do when you're standing at a citizenship ceremony or a school assembly, and I think that's a time and place that it should be sung. I think you have all levels of government, federal, state and local, that the national anthem is not played, and I don't think that we should change what we do here in Albany if it's not reflected in other jurisdictions. And I'd be interested to know if there's any other councils in WA that actually play the Australian national anthem before their council meeting. And for that reason, at this point in time, I'm going to vote against Councillor Bruff's motion, but I would reconsider with a bit more clarification around who else is doing what they do around the state. But I don't support your notice of motion.
Anyone speaking for? Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, other municipalities or local, or state or federal government might not be singing it. And there's another old saying, it wouldn't be hawky, I don't think, but there's two types of people in the world, leaders and followers. If you're not sure, get out of the way. It's okay to lead from the front. They can follow us. So I urge all councillors to support this. Thank you.
Anyone speaking against? Councillor McLaren.
Well, first of all, I always find it difficult because it's at the wrong pitch. So if we could get the right pitch, maybe I could do it better. But I tend to, when I sing the national anthem, I drop into a tenor, and I'm more comfortable in the alto. So if I could please be consulted about which is the pitch, the leading, then I would be a bit more comfortable with this. But having grown up in America, where, of course, at the drop of a hat, you sing the national anthem, I think one of the things I really enjoyed about becoming an Australian was they didn't do it so much everywhere. I'm not looking forward to this, not looking forward to singing the anthem. I do enjoy it alongside Councillor Stevens at the citizenship ceremonies. I'm one, I think you've probably heard me sing. I love singing. It's interesting because I very rarely hear my other fellow councillors sing. Even when we're at those opportunities, I don't hear anybody belting it out with, fervor and enthusiasm. I think I'm the loudest one. And that's, I think it's appropriate at certain times. I don't think we've talked about time wasting and how long these meetings take, and this is adding another step. I'll go along with it. I'll do my best. I'll try and hit the right pitch and not be out of tune, but I don't agree that we need to do it here.
Anyone want to speak for or against? If not, we'll go back to you, Councillor Bruff. Okay, that closes debate. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against?
Carried 7-2. Against Councillor Stevens and Councillor McLaren.
There are no reports of city officers. The meeting is closed to the public now. Thank you very much for your attendance.